Welcome back, everybody, to Comic Shop Talk, now on the Late Night Collectors community. Yes, right, folks. We finally made it here. We're still under the Late Night Chat Network banner, of course, but we're now here on our own YouTube channel, Comic Shop Talk, and all the other type of hobby shows that we do here, all the collecting type shows we do through the Late Night Chat Network. I'm your host, Nico, as always, and I'm joined today with me, Chris.
Hey guys, how's it going?
And this is as I mentioned, this is our first show here on the new YouTube channel, and we're just gonna keep doing what we do. Nothing really is changing other than the fact that we're now in a new area. So make sure to check out our older episodes if you're new to the show. If this is your first time checking us out, we have a playlist up here. And we've just been plugging along the last, weekly for the last couple of months here doing these shows. Me and Chris talking about the weekly new releases of comics that we've picked up and read every week. We give you some reviews, some ratings, and then we also let you know what we're looking forward to the following week. So if there is things that we're interested in picking up that you guys also want to kind of check out, read along with us, hear what we have to say about the stuff, or things that maybe you should be on your radar. And then you also get some comic news sometimes, time to time here. We try to mix it up, talk about some future announcements, show off some comics that we enjoy. All these kind of things that we do here on the channel. So if this is your first time checking it out, once again, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the Late Night Collectors community, and we'll keep making them. We'll keep doing the shows. We're having a great time doing it so far. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, having a great time doing this. And what are we on the week? I don't know which week it is, but week of February 2nd.
Yes.
And let's talk comics.
All right. So as always, guys, spoiler warning, just in case. We're going to try to do our best to not talk about some big things that happen in the books this week if we feel that, they don't need to be mentioned, to kind of make it so it gives you a little bit more of a chance to actually go and read your comics if you have not done so as of yet. Or you can always read them, then come back, check it out. We also put the show notes on every episode here for you guys. So if you do want to bounce around and just hear what we have to say about specific books, you can do that. We try to make it very easy for you guys here, but sometimes, there are things that we have to talk about, the plots that happen in each issue, in order to talk about some of the books, but we'll try our best to kind of stay away from some of the big spoilers, right, Chris?
At least the good ones. If there's some shitty spoiler that you got to put out there and just kind of complain about how bad it was, then sorry.
Yeah.
You're going to burn.
Yeah. So either, go read it and then come back if you get to hear, or, just, who cares about the spoilers? Just hear what we have to say.
We could be wrong too. Who knows?
All right. So first up, we got here today, Dark Knights of Steel #4, a book that me and Chris always look forward to checking out. It's definitely one of my favorite books DC is putting out for sure these days, if not one of my favorite books. Really, it's a really awesome title. What'd you think of this particular issue, Chris?
It's pretty much the weakest one out so far, but there was a nice reveal in there. And what's this? A lot of Bruce's history in this one here, I guess. It's just more of a walk down memory lane for Bruce Wayne, and a bit of history about the Kal-El family or the L family and how they kind of came to be. How do you like the issue?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. This is that's why I had to hype it up before we brought it down a little bit, because I had to say, hey, listen, this
can't all be great.
Hey, listen, this is compared to last week, we had a huge amount of books, each of us, and for that matter, a really, really good week. This week was a little bit all over the place for me. I'm gonna, truth be told, I'm just gonna put that out there before we get into all the books here. But but yeah, this issue definitely was the weakest so far. Not to say that it was bad, but it definitely kind of took us out of all the action they've been building up throughout this story so far, and kind of did like a nice little aside, kind of like a story, like you said, kind of talking about the origin of how Bruce is essentially the son of Kal-El, right? Or his father, sorry, Jor-El, I should say. And how that kind of came to be, right? And the relation with that whole thing, because they kind of had hinted at it. They made the reveal, but this was the origin issue essentially of how that came to happen, right? Like how they came to Earth, Jor-El, and how they kind of basically took over the kingdom that was previously Bruce's parents. Well, not his parents, but you know what I mean? Like not his birth parents, I guess.
But, his adoptive parents. Well, I guess No, I guess his
Well,
mother or somebody.
father,
Yeah.
not his father then. Sorry. Yeah. So as you can tell, he is the bastard son. It's still a little confusing. But
Yeah.
I will mention, it's worth mentioning, not the same artist on this issue. This is drawn by Bengal, who's another artist. I don't know if you noticed that, Chris. He's okay. I know a lot of
Yeah, I thought maybe that's what took it down a bit too, like because everything's been bang on in this series. This, like, if you think about it, the story still isn't too bad. Like that Green Man reveal, it's
yes.
that was good.
Yeah, I won't spoil that, but it was a nice swerve because this whole time we're thinking it's somebody else leading up into this issue, because they keep referencing the Green Man and the fact that there was a Green Lantern aspect to it, but instead of that, they've combined kind of three different elements of characters in the DCU to kind of make one interesting bad guy in this story.
Yeah.
Day, right? So I'll leave it at that. But yeah, that was kind of interesting for sure. But the artist, a lot of people like this artist. I don't find him bad. He's not a bad artist, but I also, he's not my favorite. So like the fact that he was drawing this issue, I kind of went a few pages into it and I was like, this isn't the same artist, isn't it? Like,
yeah, something's not right.
Yeah, like it's a shame because like a 12-issue series like this, you would hope the same artist was able to draw the whole thing for it to be like some sort of like epic told tale, like, you know what I mean, like some big, like, when it's all collected, you like to see a consistency, right? So like,
Well, maybe once they kind of get back into the future tense or the future or the present tense, maybe they'll have the original artist back, to kind of keep it all together.
I'm sure they did. This was probably just a catch up moment for the artist, and then maybe that's why they chose to tell this story fast, right? So yeah, but I miss the other artists. I'm gonna be honest. I miss the other artists from this issue. That definitely dropped it a rating with me, especially just that. But yeah, otherwise it was okay. I don't know. I gave it a 3.5. It was okay. I still liked it, but it wasn't as strong like where I was giving the other issues 4.5, things like that.
Yeah.
And I gave it 3.5 because I'm still invested in it, in the world and the story being told.
Oh yeah, I'm still down for the whole series. I'm still looking forward to the rest of it. And like I said, I'm same area. I give it a 3.
Okay.
Not because it's bad, because the other ones were so good.
Yeah, it's still, like I said, that's why I had to hype it up at the start there. It's one of our the series we've been looking forward to checking out the most lately. So yeah, looking forward to the next issue. Hopefully it could bring back the old artist, put us back on track with the story that was being told previous to this, right? So all right, so this was a surprise for me, Chris, when he submitted his list to me today of the things he ended up picking up and reading. I saw crossover on there, which I was happy to see. And I've been reading this book the whole time, I guess last couple of years now that it's been out. I've quite enjoyed it. I've talked about it on the show before, but this is, I think, the first issue that Chris had checked out of the series. What did you think of this, Chris?
Yeah, it's not too bad. I like now I'm more familiar with some of the names. What's this, written by Donny Cates, is it?
Yes.
And he's, I'm reading a bunch of his stuff and it's been pretty interesting. And I kind of got sucked into this. Yeah.
There he is.
So I'm still trying to figure out the world that he's in or where he is. Like, could they appear out of some dome or something? And what he wrote is almost kind of coming true or something like that. Not sure, but I'm down for the ride. It's an interesting story, and it's different than, the superhero stuff, but it's still tied in with the superhero. So I thought that was interesting. And what got me to buy this book was basically just a story on Bleeding Cooler or CBR, one of those sites, where it had a spoiler reveal in there. And it says, if you're reading this, don't read on. And if you don't read this, this might get you to buy it. And I read on and it got me to buy it.
Yeah, so there you go. It's not me who's been saying it's a good book, guys. Chris, he has to make hard choices here. I say a lot of things are good books, but as you can see, this man has mighty big pull list every week. So he can't really just sign on to everything I say. Hey, Chris, you check this out, or else you'd have like 30 books right now.
Just go to the store. Yeah, give it to me all. Give me everything.
No, that's cool, man. I'm glad that drew you in. We won't reveal who it is, but I think this is a pretty big one. But I will say, guys, if you are a fan of some of the other properties, let's say through Image Comics, big titles that they've had over the years, or even other incarnations of stuff that may be on TV or other media, let's say, you might be into the character that shows up at the end of this issue. So I'll hint at it in that sense. But yeah, it was a pretty cool reveal. I mean, that's kind of been the case throughout this series the whole way through. It's like very meta. It's kind of like talking about how comics are a real thing and how like writers are like exist in this world, like actual comic book writers. Like, so Donny Cates actually wrote himself as a character in this issue being interrogated because there is a serial killer that's tracking down and killing comic book artists and writers in the comic right now crossover. So that's essentially what's been going on. So they kind of bring him in for interrogation at this point, and they have him kind of like, I guess it seems like locked up at the moment. But yeah,
Yeah, it's almost like the Matrix in there, it seems, where he's in the interrogation room.
Oh. You good?
Incoming call. Denied, yeah.
But yeah, no, that's but yeah, so far it's an interesting story that's being told, and the character that showed up at the end was pretty cool. So I gotta say, like for me, that definitely was a highlight of the issue. So yeah, you think you're gonna continue on with the series now, Chris?
Well, I gotta see what happens in the next issue for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I don't know. I give this one a 4.
Yeah.
I probably would have given it maybe a 3.5 if it wasn't for that reveal at the end. But when that reveal happened at the end, I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. Like, so.
Yeah, same thing. I give it a 4. I thought it was a great story. And, you know, I'm still not sure about, like, is there some sort of mystery with, like, why is he's being interrogated? Because there's some sort of crime that went down and in his notes or something that was basically everything that happened, but he hadn't written an end to that story or something like that. And I don't know, but anyways, I'm gonna see what's gonna happen in there, and maybe if I see some back issues, or might try and pick some of those up too.
Yeah, and also for anybody that is a trade waiter, the first volume of this book is out right now. The second volume isn't out yet. I think it probably will be after the next issue comes out. But yeah, I mean, there's 11 issues out so far. If you are able to track down the issues, certain ones might be hard to find just because certain characters that have been popping up throughout the series as their first appearance, let's say, in this series, as it's kind of like a cool thing where they're kind of throwing in different characters throughout Image's history or just throughout comics that they were given allowance to actually use in this. Some of them they've been trying to hype up in terms of speculation, let's say, right, of this series. So good luck to you if you are gonna look for them, Chris, or like you can always borrow them from me. I have them as well. So
yeah, I'll try and track him down. I don't know.
All right. So next up, we got Justice League Incarnate number 4, Chris.
This is 4 or 5. With Dr. Multiverse up here. Kind of what she's saying. Oh no, it's all your fault. Anyways. So this issue here, I made some notes there. There's a lot of talking in the first few pages. And basically in this issue, they're trying to explain everything that's gone on in the DC universe. I think they start out with the Crisis, and then the Infinite Crises, and the New 52, the Death Metal, or the Metalverse, or whatever. And I don't know how they try to shoehorn all this into one sort of cohesive story about the light and the dark, and it just seemed to be a waste of time and a waste of just reading energy.
Right.
But what else went on in there?
Kind of DC's MO when they hit the reset button or trying to make sense.
Yeah, but they're just trying to just explain how this is, you know, some sort of
matters. It all matters, guy.
Yeah, it all matters, you know, and like how superheroes are, like, I think they have a lot going on with the Monitor and the Anti-Monitor.
From Crisis, yeah.
And then the Monitor, well, this is like in this story, or the Monitor sacrificed himself and to make the superheroes, and the superheroes are basically like a virus suppressant or something, or like an antivirus to the, I don't fucking know, it's crazy. But anyway, so it's the dark verse, and like when I say dark versus light is like the universe that we're in, or that all the multiverses, and dark is just absolutely nothingness. And somehow Darkseid is like, he's going to be the champion of the light because he still wants to live.
Yeah.
So they got to go to him, and they got to try and let him win. There's some big deaths in here. I don't know if they really matter because this is all multiversal stuff, you know, but you know, a few people get cooked, and I think in the last page, a lot of heroes are getting corrupted by the dark. So I guess that was kind of interesting. But just the beginning of all that history stuff kind of really pulled me out of the story. I'll give that a 3.5.
Mhm.
It's 4 out of 5, so the last one's happening, and I'm sure it'll all be tied up in a nice bow, and it won't change anything,
Yeah.
which is upsetting.
Comic events.
Yeah, we can talk about more of that too in Reckoning War, but anyways, we'll go on.
All right.
Oh, and okay, next up, Sabretooth here.
What's he been up to in
Oh,
that hole, Chris? Let us know.
pardon me.
What's he been up to in that hole that swallowed him up?
I freaking have no idea what he's up to in that hole. Like, I don't know if this is all in his head or what. Like, you think when he gets sucked down, you're just in some freaking hell jail. This guy's living like a king down there or something, man. It seems to be like a party.
So is it
And he's
confirmed
like,
he's still in the hole in this? Like he's still in Krakoa? Like, is that
somehow they don't really reveal, like, I think Cypher shows up with Warlock.
Yes.
And I don't know if he's out of the hole or if he's just still in his mind inside the hole, but they're in there trying to explain things. Like, I might have to, I don't know, do some digging and just see what some other reviewers have to say, or people that explain exactly what's going on in that comic. Because I have no clue what's happening or where it's happening. Like, if it's in his head, then that's crazy. And now with them being able to kill the X-Men and bring it back to life so easily, like there's an early scene in there where I know the X-Men are trying to hunt him, and I don't know if they're hunting him in the pit or something, and he just wipes them all out. Like the original 5 or a bunch of them, he just wipes them out pretty easily, where it was so hard to kill these people before. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what's going on there, but I'll give it another issue, and it's still good, exciting. It's like seeing Victor Creed, Victor Creed, that's him, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I'll follow it along. But it wasn't earth-shattering, and I thought there'd be more stuff about what's going on in the pit and him being tortured and climbing out of the pit or something, or fighting his way out. Maybe he's even out already. I don't know. So I give this a 3 out of 5.
Yeah, we're very confused this week, guys, as you can tell.
Yeah,
there's a lot of plots. More confusion coming up on my end too. Believe me, there's some.
Okay, well, I'm not done with my confusion either.
All right, so next up we got I got Fantastic Four Life Story number 6. I wish this ended last issue, because I believe if I didn't make last issue, I believe I made it my favorite of the week. And if I didn't, I sang its praises. I gave it a 5, and it almost probably got my favorite of the week from what I recall. It was an excellent issue. I love the way it ended. This kind of dropped the ball a little bit for me, to be honest. Because the last issue was the climax of the Galactus trilogy, like this Galactus story that he had retold in this life story throughout the years, right? So like it took 50 years of his life building to this Galactus moment, which is basically just him retelling the Galactus trilogy or whatever. Like that's of course Stan Lee and Jack Kirby did originally years and years ago, but in a very interesting and well told manner. And I really, really loved it. And I loved that issue so much, the last issue. And then this issue, it kind of just showed some of the directions that the characters have now, like, where they've been, where they're headed, I guess. It kind of left, some questions unanswered in terms of like, where they're going now. Cause this is now like the 2010, like past 2010, right? And, Reed still, his brains were pretty scrambled still after the whole Galactus things. And he's still kind of like a vegetable. Like his Franklin keeps trying to screw with his neurons and shit in his head, trying to like make it so somehow he could like, have some sort of like, be himself again, or actually like, you know what I mean? Like actually be able to not be like a brain dead vegetable in the chair like he is in this, like Professor X, like rolling around. So it's like, it was kind of disappointing. I mean, that eventually leads somewhere. And then there's some stuff about Doom in here and stuff. But it just felt like all this extra shit where it's like an epilogue really that they could have just did in a few pages of the last issue and kind of just left it at that. Spending this whole issue kind of focusing on other things after we just got the huge conclusion of the story, the last issue, felt like unnecessary. So I was kind of disappointed about that, but I'm going to still say this is fantastic. If you guys didn't pick this up initially, I loved this miniseries. It's a 6-issue miniseries, Fantastic Four Life Story. or the previous one, the Spider-Man one. If you guys are into Spider-Man, definitely check out that one. I that one's probably even better than the Fantastic Four one in my opinion, but the Fantastic Four one was still really, really good, and I highly recommend it despite this last issue. You could even just read the first 5 issues, honestly. This other issue this one's fine. I gave it 3.5. It was fine, but it wasn't, it was kind of a letdown after I got everything I wanted from that last issue, and they could have just ended the series there. This was kind of like, yeah, we've run out of things to say. We're going to start off a little bit of a story and then we're just going to end the series. And I'm just like, oh, well, that's kind of stupid, right? I was just like, you should have just left us guessing what happens to them. Or again, like I said, give us a few page epilogue with what happened in this issue, and I would have been happy with that, right? So anyways, and then next up, The Excellent #1. So now this is this I guess came out in the original series of this came out like 20 years ago, like in the 2000s. It was a big series at the time. It was called X-Statix. Originally they took over the X-Force title, and then they basically brought in all these weird characters that were weird mutants, and the book was very strange. And they basically killed off half of the team that they introduced in the first issue of X-Force. And they never really even reference what happened to the X-Force of the 90s, literally the issue before this new writer and artist started this book. And then they kind of just jumped into it. And back then it was like the X-Statix, as the book eventually the title changed to instead of X-Force, were like a weird group of mutants that were basically like reality star TV people, like reality TV stars. And they have this guy Dupe, who's like this small, like green guy, if you can see him in the corner there, like by their feet, who like is the person that's like their camera guy. Like he basically like he films them wherever they go as they get into altercations with like villains that are basically just set up for the media to actually think that they're actually a superhero team. So it's more so even relevant today with the way the media is and the way social media is and everything online and stuff like that. But back then, their point of reference to it was a lot of like, pop stars and reality TV show guys and things like that. So at the time when it came out in the 2000s, it was kind of groundbreaking and interesting and weird and different. And you're like, this is an X-Men book? What the fuck is this team, right? And it turned into X-Statix eventually from the X-Force title. Anyways, this is them trying to relaunch this idea with the same writer and the same artist. Mike Allred is the artist on this. He was a famous indie artist from the 90s. You might know Chris, Madman. You ever heard of that comic from back in the day, like Dark Horse Comics?
No.
Publish it. Anyways, he's got like this pop art sensibility. Like he's got like a really old, like kind of like an old school kind of style, but at the same time it's like very like pop artish. Like it's very unique. I'm a huge fan of his artwork. And it's written by Peter Milligan, who I'm kind of hot, like some things I like, some things I don't like of his, hit or miss really for me. But anyways, this consists of a lot of the same characters from the original run from the 2000s. The bad thing I will say about this is if you're not already familiar with this team, I don't know if this is going to be for you. It's a weird jumping on point. They released a one shot that was an oversized issue prior to the Hickman era of X-Men stuff a few years ago. Okay. And then it got sidelined because it had nothing to do with like the new direction of the X-Men books. And then it took a couple of years for this issue and for this series or miniseries now, I don't know what it's going to turn out to be, to even come out. So I don't even remember what happened in that one shot that they brought out a couple of years ago to set up this new relaunch of the series. And furthermore, I don't know if anybody doesn't remember this team, if this is really even going to be an interesting book for people to pick up. It's a very strange book. I'm basically here for the art at this point. I do like the idea of the team. I was a big fan of that old series. I have the big omnibus, the big hardcover on my shelf. I've read it. I really love it because it's weird and different than your normal X-Men book. But I don't know. I think this is going to be hard to find an audience for this. I don't see this being more than like a 6-issue or a 12-issue series. I don't see this soaring up the charts, honestly, at this point in time. And now it's not as interesting or new now. Like they've already done things like this over the years, right? So now it's like back then it was probably a big deal and different and weird and everything. Now it's just more of the same. And is it even going to be as good as the previous series, right? So if you're a Mike Allred fan, like if you're a fan of his art, I think it's worth the pickup, especially for that. I don't know if I'm going to stick with it though. It was a little hard to get back into this world and these characters with this issue. I'm going to be honest with you. So I gave it a 3. I might drop it. I might pick it up and trade. I do love these characters, and I do love this type of book, like something like outside of the norm, right? I always like to try to gravitate towards those books other than like always like the big 2 fucking headline books with the stupid events and shit like that. You know what I mean? Some of that's good. I like all that stuff. Don't get me wrong, but I like kind of like some of the fringe titles as well sometimes, because sometimes that's where the best stuff is happening, because there's not stakes involved, right? It's not like all the eyes are on those books, right? So like the writers sometimes have the freedom to actually do more interesting things, right? So yeah, I'm rooting for it, man. I just, again, I don't know who the audience is going to be for this book, if it's going to do that well. And even me, I might just pick it up in a trade, like read it in one chunk, because reading it monthly like this, it was hard to get back into, to be honest with you. It's been fucking 20 years since this book was out, right? So it's interesting that they chose now of all times to relaunch it. So
is that taking place in the Krakoan age or the present mutant age, or is it just kind of taken back to the past?
It's happening right now, but there's no reference to any of
the
stuff. So it's if you want to,
well, you can always throw that in. It might be a bit of a swerve to see how these new people are navigating their new timeline.
Yeah, the only reference they really even made to like X-Men, like that are that's like current X-Men in this, is the one guy on one of the teams is trying to he was trying to find a new teleporter for the team, and he's like, yeah, I tried out a couple of these other mutants, and like you see him interviewing like Nightcrawler. He's like, yeah, no, this team isn't for me. Like, and then you see him interviewing Blink, and she's like, yeah, no offense, but you kind of give me the creeps, to like the team leader. So there were some good moments in it. Don't get me wrong. Like there were some funny moments or some good moments, but just like I just had a hard time getting into it while reading it. Like, because it's just so different. The status quo of the X-Men books now is so different than this. So I might give it a couple of more issues. I think I pre-ordered the next 2 issues, because obviously with the pre-order, we got to order ahead. So I might give it that and see how it does, but it might just read better in one big chunk. So we'll see what happens, guys. But I'm rooting for it. I think it's an interesting book. If you want something outside of the norm of X books that's happening right now, or if you're not even that big of an X-Men fan, maybe pick this one up, because it's different. It's much different than anything out right now. So, all right. Fantastic Four Reckoning War #1. All right, go ahead, Chris.
Well, it's definitely a large scale event, that's for sure. But I don't know. I think they brought this out too early, because I guess because I imagine this is happening after Devil's Reign. Like they kind of make no timeline when this is happening. And, you know, it's kind of nice seeing that. Well, I guess I don't know if it's a spoiler with the moon blowing up. I thought that was a good way to start this off. Like, holy smokes, there's some big stuff going on. But then when they brought like the Avengers, the X-Men, and I guess all the New York heroes to fight the meteors coming down, I thought that was just odd that they're all around, or that this earth-shattering Devil's Reign that's going to change the Marvel Universe forever didn't really change anything, because it looks like Fantastic, or Reed Richards and Sue, they're out of jail and they seem to be okay. So I don't know.
Not only that, Chris, not only that, ignoring the fact that maybe they're not going to touch on Devil's Reign being a thing right now. Let's just move past that. But you're definitely right that I think it came out too early. So my store, it wasn't on my pull list because it was dated wrong, even though it was on to this week's shipping list through Diamond. But if you looked online, it actually had originally a date for March, which was a month later. So you have literally Jack of Hearts, who showed up at the end of the last issue of She-Hulk, where we don't even know what he was doing there yet. In this issue,
that's another thing
alongside her. And then you have Peter Parker Spider-Man here. It's not even Ben Reilly. I mean, if you listen to the dialogue, this is for sure Peter Parker in that suit, like with the quippiness, right? Like I'm like, and Dan Slott, the writer of this, has written fucking Peter Parker, like written like a long. I'm like, that's Peter Parker. Like I can tell his voice for Peter Parker. So I was really confused by those things, and it kind of took me out of the story in a bad way. I was just like, because I was like, yeah, okay, I'm digging this. Like the Eternity shows up and Silver Surfer.
Good, like
the Watchers, and even the thing that happened with Nick Fury where he was a fucking Watcher for a while, which was stupid. I never liked that. But
Yeah.
okay, now you're the Herald of the Watcher. I'm like, that's pretty cool. Like, I can get with that. Okay. Like, but then those things were happening, like you said, and usually I don't care as much about that. So like the Devil's Reign thing didn't bother me, but those things, like I was just like, what? I'm like, what time is this event taking place in? I'm like, what's going on here? Like it took me
Yeah,
out of,
there's kind of like just too many reveals that are taking you out of other stories.
yeah. And then they reference some characters that I don't even know them that apparently Dan Slott wrote in the She-Hulk series that was like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I don't even know who those guys are. Like those guys that showed up with the armor, the peace armor, and the peace and love people. I don't even
Oh
know.
yeah, yeah.
You-
Justice Love and Justice Peace or something. I don't know.
I don't even know who those people are. And apparently, and then it was like it was there's an editor's note. It says back in She-Hulk Volume 2, number 3 from 2005.
Yeah.
Dan Slott wrote that. Dan Slott wrote that book, and I was a big fan of his She-Hulk. Okay, I have the omnibus, I have the hardcover on my shelf. I haven't fucking read it in I don't know how many years though. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I don't remember that. Like, even me, I'm just like, I don't even like literally referencing something that happened like 15 years ago. I'm like, what? And it's not like they're well-known characters. Like, I'm like,
Yeah,
who's
that's
that
just
for? Some
you know.
diehard Dan Slott fan was like, oh man, loving I'm like, who? like, who is that? The confusion continues, guys. I'm just like,
exactly.
yeah. So there was a few times where it just took me right out of this book, this event. I was like, every time I was like, oh yeah, this is interesting, cool. And then I'm like, what is this? Like,
Yeah, what the fuck's going on? But anyways.
So again, I don't know who this is for. As a jumping on point, this is a one shot for a new event. As a jumping on point, even if you're reading the ongoing Fantastic Four series, there was no lead in for this really. Like there was, it was like we just wrapped up.
It's the only thing that you realize that it's taking around now is because what's that? Johnny Storm is still stuck in his fire form.
Yes,
and that's okay. He's got to. It's like it's got to be taking place sort of within continuity as it is right now. But
yeah,
I don't know. Anyways, I'll give this a 3. It's hopefully it's a good story, but
you know, I want to give it more, but yeah, I'm also going to give it a 3 because I can't in good conscience say that, like, because I got pulled out of it a few times. The art was really good and consistent throughout. I like the art and I like the idea behind the event, like the fact that people are like the whole story about the Watchers giving people technology to help their civilization and that backfiring on them. And that's the reason why they don't even.
Yeah, why they're just Watchers. Yeah, that was interesting.
Great. I love the Watcher. Like, I love the Watcher. So, like, for me, I was like, the fact that they're running around with Watcher technology and shit like that, and there's Alien, Badoon, and all that, I'm like, okay. Yeah. But it was just everything else. It was the involvement of the Marvel Universe that kind of just, like, didn't really work for me in this. So, as an event, it kind of has failed so far, like, in that.
Yeah.
Way. So,
I think too much too soon.
Yeah. So, yeah, disappointing. I really wanted to love it, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Then next up, Batman 120.
I got a variant cover here. Didn't ask for it, but oh well.
That's a nice one, though. That's a nice
one. But I don't mind that cover. The original cover is pretty cool there with the Thoughts eyes there.
The abyss, yeah. Yeah. So, what did you think of this one, Chris? I know you were.
I didn't think it was too bad. I think there's some interesting panels there with the frustrated Batman. You don't see Batman get frustrated too much there.
Yeah.
But he's just trying to tell everybody to shut up, and he's blind and all that sort of business. So that's always good. Lex Luthor there, he was okay in this one. He's showing up, and I guess there's a bit of a swerve at the end. I don't know if you want to call that a swerve or not, but so I'm still good. I'm still down with this. Wasn't a great issue, but it's moving along. It was still all linear. At least everything's taking place in the same time. So that's happy. That's a plus in this week's this week's pull. And it wasn't too bad. I don't mind it.
Yeah,
I was looking forward to it more, but I just wish they had more of the Lex and Bruce stuff. Like that was great there, that last issue.
Same. And I remember that was kind of the highlight of the last issue that I had spoken about, for me at least too. But even then, I think you're a little bit more into it at that point in time than I was. But I'm still, it's still good. It's still decent. again, it's not bad, but it's still just like okay for me right now. Like I'm not super excited by it right now, to be honest with you. But if they focus more on, I think, the relationship with the whole Lex part of this storyline, or even the Abyss character, it's interesting. Like you said, I did like the fact that he's running around blind, like in this at some points.
Yeah.
So that is a new challenge to throw his way for sure, right? I think that was that's always interesting to kind of challenge Batman, who basically has a way out of everything, and kind of like, you know what I mean, like a backup plan and everything else, right?
I think Abyss became a bit more interesting in this issue too.
Yeah.
So it's good to have a good villain.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like the villain now. The last time when they introduced him, I was just like, oh, okay, whatever. But then,
Yeah, just bring another guy that can fight, and he lives in the dark. Fucking all of them live in the dark.
right. Well, that's the thing. I felt it was just kind of a little bit more of the same. But
yeah,
there's a nice story building right now, I think, in this. It's not bad, and I think the art's really good. Again, I could give a shit about the backup story. I have no problem with Gotham Academy. I know it has its fans. I don't think it's a bad story. I just have no interest in it personally.
It's a fun story, I guess. Well, I don't know. Like fucking cucumbers is a big deal in the end. I don't know. Spoiler alert.
An all ages. Yeah, it's more of an all ages backup. So it seems weird that they would put it in the title. Like it's a real shift in tone, right? You get to the I'm like, maybe you should have put this in something else. or
altogether.
Or just bring out a mini series of it. Even do 3 issues or something if it's backup.
Yeah, they don't do that because they don't know nobody's gonna buy it.
Right. So I gave it a 3.5.
Yeah, fuck. We're bang on today again. 3.5.
Yeah. Well, fuck. I hope you guys listen. Some weeks are gonna be like this. We've mentioned this before. I don't want to sound like we're being negative this week, but so
we did have a good couple of weeks though.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. So you got a mixed bag sometimes, right? That's just how it goes. All right, Chris. Spider-Woman 19. Sorry.
Oh, there you go. Spider-Woman, Devil's Reign tie-in. Not so much of a Devil's Reign tie-in. There's Spider-Woman versus Spider-Woman. There's a Super Skrull running around here
that's always fun.
And maybe not a Super Skrull, but the Skrull she's a shapeshifter, and I think she's running around under orders of Wilson Fisk. So that's the tie-in. And Jessica, what's her name? Jessica Drew? No.
Yep.
Yeah, Jessica Drew. She has a baby here, and they want to steal the baby. So she's running around chasing the Skrull, trying to get her baby back. The thing I don't understand about these Skrulls is when they take over when they shift into whoever, how do they end up freaking taking their powers or something, But anyways, that's probably a long story.
That's why the Super Skrull is like the one that had all the powers of the Fantastic Four. Like that was that's so maybe it is a Super Skrull then if they actually are mimicking powers, because I think like the Skrulls just have shape shifting, but I think the Super Skrull ones are able to actually mimic power sets, if I'm not mistaken, I believe, right? I think
because it's like Viraki or something, or I forget what her name is.
Maybe that's specific to Super Skrulls then. I don't know or the Super Skrull is literally just that one Skrull that was in Fantastic Four that had all their powers, right? I don't know, but that sounds about right if they're mimicking their powers, because actually, no, you know what? I think they always do that though. I think you're right, because like even the ones that were hidden. See, Spider-Woman though has a long history with Skrulls, right?
They do reference some of that here because I think
it's messed up what they did to her with the Skrulls, right?
Yeah, like they took over, they kind of stole her identity and then used her to kind of, I think, almost launch some sort of like the Secret Invasion or something.
Yes, so that's
like a big storyline.
That's going.
And the one that's doing this was the one sort of responsible for that. So I guess there's the Secret Invasion.
Yeah.
What's the name? Yeah, Varanki. I don't know if that name means anything.
So that's going.
Skrull.
That's going all the way back to Bendis's time on the Avengers. He actually revealed that she was a Skrull for a long ass fucking time in that book, and that was a big deal at that time, right? And during that Secret Invasion event. So yeah, that's going back some time. So she's had a lot of history with those characters. So it makes sense that they would pop up now in the title, right? Because I think the main focus has really been, at least the series before this, was a lot to do with her being a mother and like everything else, right? And then I don't know about this series. This was about her finding out she had a family or something, like her parents or something came back, like I believe, right?
Yeah, well, like the last few issues have been tie-ins, so they've kind of everything's sort of on hold. this issue, I think the not Avengers, a few of the Avengers show up, like Carol Danvers or Captain Marvel shows up. And, it's all I guess when you have a Skrull or a Mimic there, it's like, oh, which one's the real one and all that sort of stuff. And they figure it out and boom. And she gets her baby back at the end and everything's fine. I think there's a big setup for Spider-Woman 20 where there's the anti-Arachnine or something. It's supposed like the Sinister Six of Spider-Man, but that's Spider-Woman's rogue gallery trying to do her trouble. Okay. So we're going to see what happens there. I give this maybe a 3.5. Nice cover, but I think there might have been a different artist too because it wasn't as sharp as the last few issues.
Okay, cool. And X Lives of Wolverine #2. Maybe I know I read the first 2 issues of both of those, Chris, and you hadn't read them in time. Now I didn't read this in time. Maybe next week we'll finally read it together. This series.
Well, it doesn't look like X Lives and X Deaths or 10 Lives and 10 Deaths are continuing in each other's story. Like this one here, I have no idea what's going on. What did I write about X Lives? Yeah, oh boy, time jumping in this one. I think there's like 4 timelines that he's in. He's in the 1900s. He's with that's one timeline. One timeline is with Maverick and Sabretooth when they were, I guess, in Weapon X. Yeah. There's a time when he's in Japan with I don't know,
Mariko.
I think it's her, but it's his love or his wife there, so yeah. I imagine it was her.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, there's another timeline in there, and freaking goes from one page to one timeline. Then Jean Grey's floating around trying to give him orders. I have no idea what's going on in this one either, and I don't know if he's trying to. And somehow, oh yeah, there's a timeline with, I guess, Professor X's father is on a boat in the Antarctic, and they're stuck in the ice.
Okay.
And I know it doesn't all come together at the end of this issue, so okay. Maybe it all come together later. But in some of the timelines, Wolverine's trying to, like at least the timeline when he was with in the Weapon X stuff, he's trying to undo some of the damage that he did because he was, he did a lot of bad stuff under that program. And then Jean is, hey, you can't do anything, you got to stick to the plan. And he's like, oh, screw the plan. And fuck, I don't know what's going on. And then freaking, what's his name? Omega Red is floating around in all these timelines somehow.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to read on, I guess, but I don't know. When these issues came out, I thought they'd be so much more and something, but these are just freaking wacky. So it just adds to the very confusing pull list this week.
Right.
3.5, 3, whatever.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. That's all right. You got to be honest, right? You got to be honest about it. So next up, we got Geiger. I guess it's pronounced 80-page giant. This is this was more of an anthology issue. I think they've come out with 6 issues so far of the main series. And this was Jeff Johns actually writing a creator-owned book for Image, which it's been a long time since he's actually done any creator-owned stuff. He's been one of the main guys at DC for so long. So the fact that he was writing a creator-owned project at Image Comics, I was pretty interested to check it out. And I like the main series quite a bit. I was enjoying it when it was coming out. I guess now they're taking some time maybe to start working on different projects or issues of the series, but I think what Gary Frank, the artist that he's worked with on at DC for a whole for a long time now, who is the artist on this main title, he's actually going to be drawing another book now in the same universe as Giger, and it's called Junkyard Joe. And there was like a little this character showed up at the end of the last issue of Giger, or Geiger, number 6. And now it looks like they're going to branch out and maybe do like a mini series of this character. They're expanding the world that this story is being told in, essentially right now. So where they left off in the main series, they introduced this idea that there's like a nuclear fallout, and this guy that's known as like the Nuclear Man He's some guy that survived the nuclear bombs and shit, and he became like a living like plutonium rod or something like that. He's radioactive, and he has like these radioactive rods that he can put in his back, and when he takes them out, he lights up like this. And he lives in like the desert of Nevada, like of Las Vegas, out in like a bomb shelter or something like that. And he had his family in one of these bomb shelters when everything went down. And he found out after the fact that they actually didn't survive the blast, and they actually he all this time he thought they were alive in there, and then he opened it up to find that they actually hadn't survived. And meanwhile, now he's just become like this weird outcast, like hermit that lives out in the middle of nowhere, that if people come around and fuck with him, like he ends up killing them. And like he's like this kind of like like this like kind of urban legend type thing that people talk about now. If you go out these ways, you might run into this guy, the nuclear man or whatever they call him. And like, so like, it's an interesting story, but like he was like a loving kind of father and husband and a family man at one point in time. So, but now he's just kind of trying to make his way through this world. He has a mutant dog that has like 2 heads, and there's like all these like weird creatures and mutants and stuff like that are kind of out in the wastelands that he has to like kind of, that he comes into contact with. He has to, like, he'll kill them too. Like he just, trying to survive out there. But then in Las Vegas, where everything else is set up, there's all these like weird factions of people that live in these casinos now, and the casinos all have a way of like living now. Like there's a pirate casino and everyone's like living like pirates over there, and then there's another casino like it's like a haunted casino, and basically everybody bets for body parts there. Like if you win the bet, you'll end up getting like this luxury suite and like away from like from all the trouble, but if you don't, you have to like give up your liver or something like that. So there's all these crazy fucking weird ideas. There's a map in the book that basically shows you all the different casinos and who runs them. And this 80-page giant acted as an anthology of telling stories about all the different casino owners and how like all the different factions kind of operate, and like the type of characters that you run into there. And they basically set up 2 future miniseries of characters that are in this same timeline that are going to be coming out throughout the summer, they had said. So, as a primer to this world and to make it much more like expand upon the idea and actually introduce you to a whole bunch of really cool ideas with good artists and good writers, this was pretty successful. And, but all anthologies, it was kind of a mixed bag. There's a few stories that I didn't like by certain writers that aren't the main creators that were just okay. But the bulk of this was pretty solid. I got to say, good art, good storytelling throughout, introduced a bunch of new cool characters. And when the book actually comes back out on the stands, or these spinoffs, I'm going to probably check them out. So this was very successful in my opinion, for that reason. And so I give it a 4. It's an $8 price tag though. So no, if this is your jumping on point, it's a bit of a pricey one. I would suggest to even pick up the first volume, guys, if you are a trade rate waiter. The first volume, I think, is only $9.99 US, which is the first 6 issues of this series. And then really it's just this that's come out afterwards, which is just introducing you to the rest of the world and these characters. So yeah, it was good. And then you got Scumbag number 12, written by Rick Remender through Image Comics. I love this book. This is just a ridiculous, funny book with, like, yeah, as the title says, a piece of shit, drug addict, kind of asshole, typical, I guess, horrible American, if you want to look through that at it through that lens, but he's definitely somebody that does believe in free love. That's like a hippie of like a forgotten time almost, that like lives in, he's not big on politics or the way that the world is now, but he's just like a fucking loser drug addict who gets superpowers and gets caught up in the middle of like this government kind of operation that they're using him as a patsy essentially, but they give him powers as a result of him working for them. He takes a pill, he gets powers, and now he's out fucking double crossing them because he was like a double agent at one point. He was working with the bad guys, he was working with the good guys, and in this issue, they're basically trying to track him down and kill him now and take the powers back from him because he's kind of wreaked havoc and caused a bunch of shit for them, and he's just not doing his job. So this whole issue is a funny issue where they're chasing him through the streets of, like, he travels through time in the last issue, and he's like in the 60s or something in this, and by the end of the issue, there was like a shitload of people that, like, it's kind of like Ferris Bueller, you know, when he's like trying to rush home or whatever, like, but instead he keeps bumping into people in this timeline because he went to the past and causing an issue with them, and then by the end there's like 7 different people that are chasing him down in the issue. That, like, it kind of comes to like a screeching halt when they all like corner him in like some alley or something. So it was just really funny. Like he runs into some guy that looks like the guys from Happy Days, like the Fonz and the other guy, like they start chasing him, and then there's like the Archie gang. They draw like guys that look like the Archie gang, and they start chasing him because he's an asshole. He runs into them. So yeah, it was a really, really funny issue, and I really quite enjoyed it, and I give it a 4.5. This was a hell of a lot of fun. This was probably one of the better issues I've read out of this series in a while, even though I always enjoy it. It's usually always like a solid 4 for me, but like this was a really fun romp, this one, so I give it a 4.5.
Ooh, a romp. Very nice.
Romp. Go ahead, Chris. Daredevil Woman Without Fear, number 2.
Ooh. Did you read this one or no?
I sure did.
Oh yeah, there you go. I know. I think it wasn't too bad. What's going on in this one here? Oh yeah, almost down for Elektra versus Kraven. I'm always wondering why they always push Kraven as such a heavyweight villain.
Yeah.
Like he's not really all that strong. He's just like a great hunter.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of like how he thinks he's got the goods on Elektra, and she just shuts him down. You know, hey, don't worry, everybody knows. But what kind of interests me in this here is the stuff with the hand and what's going to be happening in the future when the Punisher takes over the hand, and how that might fit in with all what's going on in there. But that's just more future talk than what's going on in this issue. But it's still a good issue. You know, I thought it was like, you know, good art in there. Who wrote this one here? I don't know. But
Chip Zdarsky.
Oh, Chip Zdarsky. Yeah. And yeah, I think it's a pretty solid issue. You know, not much going on. I give that a 3.5.
I like this issue a hell of a lot more than the first issue. I remember talking about the first issue.
Yeah.
I was really disappointed with it. I thought it, like, because most of the issue focused on her origin again, and then the rest of the issue, it kind of was just setting up this, you know, her chasing this ex-hand member that, like, I guess she knew as when she was part of the hand. And then in this, that kind of continued. You do get some flashbacks in this, and you do get that aspect of it, of her thinking it's this person from the hand fucking with her. But I did really like the Kraven moments, and it was kind of a little bit different, I think, for like a Daredevil story. And
yeah,
it's Elektra, and I thought the art was good, and I love this costume. I think the costume is very functional and it works great, and it looks great.
Oh yeah, she looks great in this costume.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've already seen it in the Daredevil title prior to this little mini series, but this issue made me feel a lot better about this miniseries as a whole. I actually gave this a 4. I thought it was a way better issue than the first one, and I'm looking forward to the conclusion next time. So yeah,
nice.
And then Amazing Spider-Man number 88. Yeah, the Queen Goblin.
Ooh.
How about this one, Chris?
Well, I thought this one was so. You know, we came off a great issue, though. A great last week of Spider-Man stuff with the Mary Jane and the Black Cat and the Spider-Man with 87. This one is sort of back to Ben Reilly. Sorry, buddy. You're getting a little bit more interesting, but you're still not great. And let's see what else went on in here. Yeah, well, it was kind of interesting with the Beyond plan. And, you know, they're explaining what Beyond's trying to do with you know, trying to get these heroes and villains and stuff, but it's not really that interesting. It's just more of an explanation of what they're doing. And like I say, nothing crazy. Again, another 3.5.
Yeah, same. I also gave it that rating. I did think this issue was mediocre compared to, like you said, the last couple of weeks that we've had of really good issues of Spider-Man. And I think they really just they built up a lot of the really great story beats in those issues as opposed to this one where it kind of just moved things along. The biggest thing that happened in this issue was just the introduction of this Queen Goblin, which I believe was a psychiatrist that they transformed.
Yeah, like they don't really say it there, but I know it was sort of revealed on one of the variant covers that it's that Dr. Kafka or whatever.
Yeah.
And she was working for the Beyond Corporation there.
Yeah, they hinted at it. I believe that's the case. I think that's who this Queen Goblin is, and
yeah, and they got some like the Norman Osborn serum or something that they injected her with, I think.
Yeah,
like I had some great hopes for this. When this Goblin Queen was coming out, I thought it'd be freaking super awesome, and just somehow it just fell flat. She seems like a pretty decent villain. It looks like she might be going rogue too, so I'm not sure if Beyond's got the leash on her very tight, so we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm with you. It was okay, but yeah, nothing compared to last week's worth of Spider-Man for sure.
Yeah,
and then Tech on Avengers, Chris.
Tech on Avengers.
Finally,
so these are one there. Actually, I wasn't even going to review this one, but it was a pretty good comic still. I think this is the end of the 6-issue series, and once again, they're in a world where I don't know, somehow they all got depowered. There's a scroll there. It's a multiverse. But the art in this is freaking super awesome. And, it's more of like the anime style, I guess. And I got to look through this one because I didn't really take too many notes for this one because I wasn't going to review it. But everything comes together in the end. It's all happy. And, oh, yeah, Tony Stark freaking... he gets zapped up there. He gets powered up a little bit, and they're a little worried about that, but we'll see how that plays out.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, I thought this was a great issue. It was a bit of a surprise issue. It was kind of one of the last few books I read. Mm-hmm. And I give it a 3.5 plus, maybe a 4 because it's the end of the series, so you get to see everything happen. And there's a bit of a teaser for maybe another run down the road. So it's good to see that.
I remember the first time you talked about the last issue, it was like you picked it up on a whim and you were like really surprised at how much you enjoyed it. I remember you said.
Yeah, same thing with this one. Just took it on. The thing is, I got another variant cover when I tried to pull just the regular cover because the only reason I wanted this one because the regular cover's got Spider-Man on and they fucking throw this in my pull box. But
I think they're trying to feed you some extra issues there, Chris.
Anyways, I don't know. Not that I don't like Black Panther, but hey, I wanted Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And let's see, we got Black Widow, Wastelanders, Black Widow. I think this might be a couple weeks old too, so
yeah.
I guess it just showed up in my pull bin too. And this was a good comic. It's it's taking place in the Old Man Logan universe, and the Widow it's not Natasha Romanoff, she's dead. It's the Yelena something.
Oh, it's Natasha's sister.
Oh, it's your sister? I thought there was one. I thought it was someone that kind of just took her over.
The one from like the movies, the Yelena Bobolova.
Yeah, Yelena. That's it.
Yeah. It's not her like blood sister, but yeah, that's her. That's her sister.
Yeah, sister.
She was brought up with her is like, in the Red Room or whatever and everything else. Like I think they went through, right? So she's she was Black Widow for a period of time in the comics.
Yeah. And I guess, so this kind of follows that out. And, the world's gone to hell here. I think she has to go to Florida, and the Florida's covered, or Florida is being run by the Lizard, or the Lizard King here. And she has some boyfriend. I'm not sure if they explain it too much, but anyway, he's got to go there. He gets captured, so she's got to go in and save him. And they have some information that the Lizard King wants to get out of them, and he's not giving it up. And so on her way in there, she gets a bit injured, so she can't carry anything. So she finally kind of evades the Lizard King and gets to rescue her boyfriend. And then she's like, okay, buddy, let's go. Get up and let's go. He's like, I can't. He ate my legs. So he's sitting at the jail cell with freaking 2 stumps on his leg because the Lizard King ate his legs. And she can't carry him because she's all beat up and she's old in here too.
Oh, God.
And then he's like, but don't worry, I didn't talk. And then freaking, this is a cold comic. I'm going to give away the end. I don't care. It's old.
Yeah, go ahead.
So he goes, I won't talk. And then she's like, sooner or later, he gets everybody to talk. and she fucking kills him.
Of course, yeah.
That's it. Fucking use those wasp stingers on him. I don't know, maybe knocks him out, but I got the impression that she killed him and then fucking took off and go, hey, that's it.
Yeah.
That's this world. Why is not this freaking like not even a multiverse? This has got to be a freaking ongoing series or something. I love this. I know I've read a few of these Wastelander ones.
Yeah.
And only one's been a dud so far.
Yeah.
I'll give that 4.5, somewhere in that range.
I like the Wastelander. I like the Wastelander universe too, for sure, man.
It's a nice one shot. So not stringing you on with a bunch of baloney either.
Yep.
And it reminds me of like Judge Dredd comics, where there's no happy ending. It's like, fuck, boom, that's it. You're gonna talk, or I know you. I know you won't talk. You're gonna try hard. I know you ate your legs and you didn't spill the beans. I don't even know what the beans are, but boom, I can't take that chance.
I like that for sure. I'll have to check that out when it's collected because I do like the Wastelander stuff. Okay, and then lastly, I got Magic Order 2, number 4. All I gotta say is the artist on this, Stuart Immonen, is so fucking good. He's so good. Yeah, the art's amazing in this book. I mean, this is a pretty solid issue. This is probably my favorite issue so far of the series. 4 issues in. I think it's only gonna be like a 6-issue series, like usual with the Mark Miller stuff that he brings out. It's supposed to be a show on Netflix at some point, and I do like this world. I do like the characters. A lot happened in this issue where the bad guys are still amping up to take down this family of magician people in England, or like this family that's like known and all connected and powerful. And I guess another group has been fucking up different things throughout the world, so they are kind of distracted and causing shit and chaos for them to have to deal with, while also kind of advancing on them, trying to get the drop on them, on their family. And things are definitely gonna happen within the next issue. It seems like things are gonna shit's gonna hit the fan, it looks like. So yeah, but there were some great moments in this, and the art, I just can't say enough about the art. I gave this a 4. It was pretty good. And
Right.
Last but not least, or least, for number 3,
Last and least.
this was on the chopping block, and I believe I'm cutting it from my list now. This has been very disappointing. This is a Chip Zdarsky written book. It's about a guy that works for the mob, or the mobs, like the different mob families hire this guy. It's kind of like an intermediate, kind of like somebody who used to be a cop, but acts for the mobs and is hired by them to kind of investigate different things that happen to people in their like families. Like, let's say somebody goes and puts a hit out on somebody else. It's this guy's job, if they hire him, to find out who is responsible for this hit, so it doesn't cause a mob war between all the different families. Like,
He's like the mob police.
Pretty much, yeah. But he acts as a PI, kind of like outside of the law a little bit, but he works with some cops because he used to be a cop, so he's got connections. So like the premise is very, very interesting. I really like the idea behind it, but it's just like, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the pacing of the stories or what he's choosing or to tell every issue, or I don't know what it is. Something is not clicking for me in this story though. And it's just like, I don't know if it's going to read better in a chunk. Anyways, again, because we got to fucking pre-order issues like 3 months in advance, I think I have the next 2 issues pre-ordered. So I'll continue talking about it, but as of right now, I'm not ordering any more issues. And then watch what will happen. By the time the 5th issue comes out, I'll be like, wow, this is really good now. I fucking hate when that happens. Like, I really don't want that to happen. At that point, I'm probably just going to pick up the trade if this gets better all of a sudden. But so far, maybe it's just because I have such high expectations for it, because I think it should be so much better than it is. And it's just very so at this point for me. Like, and in every issue, they have a backup story, like the fucking DC thing, where it's just like some other writer and artist. It has nothing to do with the story being told throughout the main part of the issue. And like, I'm just like, it's such a waste. Like, give me a few more pages of this main story, or like, you know what I mean? Like, if the artist needs more time to draw it, bring them out every 6 weeks or something. I don't need it every month. Like, it's been on time, but it's just like, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you guys, man. I'm just very disappointed in this one. So I believe it's cut from my list moving forward at this point. So New Burn number 3. All right. So before we wrap up here, very quickly in the news, I did want to quickly mention
Oh,
I sent it's not a huge news article, but something that's really interesting to me that I read today that I actually sent to Chris. An artist that I'm a big fan of, Daniel Warren Johnson. I believe now I found out that he may be only doing covers, maybe some interior pages, but he's not the main artist on this book. But they announced that they're bringing out a book, I think in either April or May. I think it's May. I'm just pulling up the article right now where the Jurassic, it's called Jurassic League. It's Justice League as dinosaurs. And this is either going to be the stupidest book ever or the most awesomest book ever, because I love Daniel Warren Johnson. He's an artist I'm a really big fan of. Even if he's writing this, the art, I was seeing some of the preview pages, and the artist Juan Gideon, who's working and co-writing this with him, I think he might be doing the main art on the book though. His art style is also pretty good, and it looks and he draws a hell of a really cool looking dinosaur. And basically the Justice League reimagined as dinosaurs. It's a 6-issue miniseries coming out in May. I know that sounds ridiculous, but be on the lookout for this one, because like it's kind of sounds like a lot of fun to me. Like
it could be crazy enough to be good.
Right? So it's either going to be the stupidest thing ever, or it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. And I'm gonna side on the side of hopefully it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. So look it up, guys. It's called Jurassic League. It's a 6-issue miniseries debuting in May from Daniel Warren Johnson and Juan Gideon. And I hope Daniel Warren Johnson is doing more than just the covers, but it looks like he's just going to be doing writing duties on this, because from the article, like the headline, it kind of just had his name on there at first, and then I clicked on it and I was like, oh yeah, and then I'm like, oh, when you read a little bit more of the article, it looks like I don't think he's drawing it. I think he's writing it, but it's ridiculous, man. Like it's all kinds of different dinosaurs as reimagined DC characters, right? As dinosaurs. Yeah. So it looks like.
What do you think about those new Savage Avengers?
That's the other one I sent you today. Yeah. So I'm not familiar with the new writer. He's a novelist, I guess, which is a lot with the case with a lot of comic writers these days. They're either guys that work in TV or they write books. And so I'm not so before I would steer clear of those kind of books, because I'm like, I don't really know this guy as a writer in comics, but there's so many writers in comics now that's the case, and they're good writers. So I don't really shy away from people like that anymore. So you know what? I'm going to continue with it. Conan.
What do you think about the characters they chose?
Yeah, there's some weird
characters. They're not the freaking greatest.
No, but it's again, if it's like the series that they just concluded, the Savage Avengers that ran 28 issues that just ended, if it's anything like that, it's just going to be, again, a stupid fun book. And I think with the weird, interesting characters like that, like
it's thrown in. That's what I'm hoping if I do follow that.
The only constant is Conan. Conan's the only guy. Oh, and Elektra. Elektra was on Savage Avengers, the original book too, but now it's
Elektra. Is she in this one, or I thought it was?
She was on the cover. It's her as Daredevil, like Daredevil.
Oh, her as Daredevil.
Yeah, so it's a bit different.
That's a little different then.
Cloak and Dagger were on the cover.
Like there's a lot of like the Anti-Venom and the Hulk H or whatever.
Yeah, so
a Weapon H. I haven't seen anything, so it'd be interesting to see him, but.
Here's the
thing. I'm not sure about Anti-Venom and all that sort of business.
Here's the thing, though. None of those characters are good enough to have their own titles. So,
for sure, yeah.
So it's just one of those weird, like, Thunderbolts-esque type teams that are throwing together. Like, they'll put a bunch of villains together, or they'll put a bunch of, like, people that are like, oh, look, these are the badass characters in the Marvel U or whatever, right? So, like, sometimes it works. Sometimes it's just incredibly stupid. So I'm going to, again, try it out. I was a huge fan of the previous incarnation of Savage Avengers, so I'm on board to try out the first couple issues at least. It looks like, I think, for this one, so we'll see.
I'll probably give it a go.
So there you go, guys. Potentially 2 stupid, ridiculous books, but maybe fun. So coming up, I think both in May through Marvel and DC. So, and then from the vault.
Oh, what do we have here today?
Probably should have showed this one off last week with the return of Saga with number 55 after being on hiatus for 3 years, but I forgot. So here it is this week. Still kind of timely. Saga number 1, signed by Brian K. Vaughan. I saw him at TCAF. I think it was probably back in 2019, either 2018 or 2019. He came to TCAF, which is Toronto's independent comic festival. I guess the Beguiling comic book store puts that on every year, and it was at when I saw him, I think the book was on hiatus at that point, so that tells you how long it's been that Saga's been on hiatus. So but yeah, I got him to sign it. I met him, and I got him to sign my Paper Girls #1 as well. This has gone up in value over time, issue #1. And so I figured it'd be a really cool issue to show off just for that, for the fact that it is a key issue. And also there is, it has returned as of last week. So guys, if you have never read Saga, it is a fun book. And yeah, I do think it got overhyped when it came out, to be honest with you. It is definitely, I think, it was definitely overrated in the sense that it was a really good book, but the praise that it was getting and the people that were checking it out that don't normally read comics, like, I was thankful for it, but there were so many other good things out on the shelves that come out on a consistent and regular basis that deserve the praise, if not more than this book did at the time. So, you know what I mean? So I was coming from it from that perspective at that time as well. Whereas I'm like, there's a lot of really good books out there, guys. So, like, you know, get out there and kind of do your research and ask your comic book store and your local comic book store, and, you know, talk to people, watch this show, get opinions, listen to podcasts. Like, there's so many good comics out there right now, guys. That's the thing. And that's why, like, me and Chris, we struggle with our pull lists week to week now, because we're trying to, like, you know, scale down, but at the same time, it's like, oh, another solid issue, you know. It's
yeah, well, even still, like, even though we don't like these issues, like, I'm still down for them. And, you know, I'd buy all these comics again even after I read them. You know, if I got to read them for free, I still want all these issues, you know.
Yeah, so there you go. So yeah, there's some great stuff out there, guys. But yeah, Saga's one of them for sure. Yeah, so you can pick up, I think there's about 8 trade paperbacks. Is it 8 or 10? And then there's a compendium out, guys, that literally collects 54 issues of the series. It's a big, fat, huge paperback. It has every single issue that's come out of the series so far. If you pick up that, that's all you need, and you can jump right back in with the newest issue of Saga and get, you know, and join everybody else that will be reading it. I don't know how many fans stuck around the 3-year absence period and how many they're actually going to retain moving forward, but, you know, was it worth the wait? I guess we'll see, right? So there you go. Okay.
Well, I've also heard of, when you talk about the trade paperbacks, I heard they're going to be scaling back a lot of the trade paperbacks now because of the paper shortage, and they're going to be doing a lot of giant-sized issues. Like, I think they're reprinting the Dark Knights of Steel 1 to 3, not in a trade paperback, but just in a giant size. I don't know what you would call it, but like a mini trade, I guess.
That's
just interesting.
Is that supposed to be replacing the trade paperbacks?
Well, for now, I guess.
Okay, well, that's disappointing.
For some of them.
I do like trades, so I guess because there is paper shortage issues. So yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. Okay, Chris, what are you looking forward to picking up next week?
Okay, I'll tell you what I'm picking up, and I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to picking up. Those are two different things nowadays.
Fair enough.
But Devil's Reign 4, looking forward to picking it up. Amazing Spider-Man 88 Beyond, not really looking forward to picking it up. Avengers 53, looking forward to picking up. X 10 Deaths of Wolverine, not really looking to pick it up, but I'm going to pick it up. Titans United 6, I'm looking forward to pick that up. Scorch 2. Yeah, I'm still lost in that freaking whole Spawn world, but I'm going to chug along there because I think there's still pretty issues. So
yeah,
I'm going to pick that up too. I missed Spawn this week, I think.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and pick that up over the weekend.
All right. That's it.
That's it. It's a small pull list.
Yeah, same with me, guys. So yeah, it's going to be a quicker, smaller show next week, but hopefully some good stuff still after these last 2 huge fucking weeks, though, where everything seemed to come out. So it's going to be nice for a change, to be honest with you. Amazing Spider-Man 88 Beyond, I'm also going to be picking up. Those Beyond ones haven't been that great so far, so we'll see. Although the Doc Ock one was one of those, which was pretty good.
What out of 4 or 5?
Right. Batman Catwoman number 10, Devil's Reign number 4, Justice League 2021 annual number 1. Looks like that's kind of late. It literally says 2021 annual in this list here, so we'll see about that one. King of Spies number 3. And yeah, I'll also be joining Chris. It looks this time, it looks like, because we have a smaller week, we'll actually both be talking about the 10 Deaths of Wolverine series together for the first time, because we've both been reading both series, but we've never had enough time to read it on the same week. So yeah, that's it for me next week, guys. 6 issues, so should be a good one though still. So make sure to tune in. All right, Chris, moment of truth, our favorite book of the week.
Okay.
Not many contenders for me this time around, I'll tell you that much.
Well, yeah, there weren't many contenders, but I got mine here. I'll put it up. Boom. The Black Widow.
I thought so. I'm gonna go with the Scumbag number 12 because it was probably my favorite issues of the series so far, and you know, again, hard to explain just because this is a creator-owned title and give you guys kind of a rundown of the story so far. But if it sounded at all interesting to you, check this series out. It's a lot of fun and it's different. And yeah, so it's you know, these Image titles, like, I do enjoy them. It's good to mix it up for me out of all the superhero stuff, and every now and then, like, there's a really good, because those stories, it seems like they're doing it more for the trade as opposed to like telling story arcs. Like, I know superhero comics do that as well, but they do have big kind of things happening almost every other issue to keep you kind of buying into it, right? Where this one, more of the Image comics, the creator-owned stories, the writers are taking their time to tell a story. So you might read a few issues and nothing too crazy happens, and then you'll get like a big thing that happens in an issue and kind of ties up the whole story arc, right, for you. So yeah. So there you go. Scumbag number 12, guys. All right. So as always, make sure to subscribe to the channel. If this is your first time checking out the show, hit that like button, leave us a comment. Let us know, you know, what you're looking forward to here next week. If there's anything you're reading that we haven't read or have been talking about that you would suggest to check out, let us know. You know, let a friend know if they're into comics or they're trying to get into comics for the first time. You know, definitely suggest this show if you guys do check this out, and more great stuff to come. We got cracking packs with the chat, or, you know, our card show that we do here on the Late Night Collectors community, all kinds of playlists that we have of old comic book shows that I used to do, Trade Talk, Weekly Wine Comic Time, two shows that we kind of don't do anymore, but there's like, you know, 40, 50 plus episodes of both of those in the playlist here on the channel, guys. And also my monthly comic book hauls and reviews, which I actually am late on the last month, and January's just ended. So I'm going to be doing a lot of recording this next week, guys. So stay tuned for that. There's going to be a lot of videos coming out soon for you guys. Lots more content here, and we'll see what else we get into, guys. So, all right. We'll see you guys next week, though. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Chris, as always. And we'll see you guys next week.